Welcome back to 755 is Real. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic. I'm with my co-host Eric O'Flaherty. What's up, Eric?
What's up, Dave?
Not much, man. Just come back from a hell of a road trip by the Braves. Had a day off yesterday. Now ready to dive into a homestand in which the Braves should really clean up against St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Is it Pittsburgh? Isn't it Pittsburgh? I should know that off the top of my head. Just making sure here. Yeah, St. Louis and Pittsburgh. And that should put them in position to clinch during the Phillies series, which is a 4-gamer in 3 days. Starts off with a doubleheader to make up an earlier rainout. So, but hell of a trip, man. We talked about this before the trip, how hard it was to go west. I mean, it's been like that for years and years. As long as I can remember with the Braves, they always struggled out west. So to go out there, I remember one road trip with Freddie was manager. They had a winless West Coast trip to go out and win series, all three of them, San Francisco, Colorado, and L.A. And the L.A. was as impressive as I've ever seen them play at Dodger Stadium. They won the first three and clearly were the better team than the Dodgers. And the Dodgers were the hottest team in the league coming in and probably the hottest team in baseball coming in, them in Seattle. So to do what they did against them, I thought it was really impressive. The Dodgers had lost like one of their previous 14 home games. They lost 3 in a row to the Braves.
Yeah, I thought the whole series was going to be like that first game. And I thought it'd probably be a split, just kind of like a playoff preview, but they really took charge.
They did. The Dodgers, they had won 22 out of 26 games coming in. I mean, and Mookie Betts, player of the month in August, was just phenomenal August. They controlled him. He went hitless in the second and third games, had the 2 homers in game 1 after Acuna hit the early grand slam. So you thought, okay, this whole series is set up to be this one-on-one battle between these guys for MVP. Like you said, probably be a split. Didn't work out like that. And I thought Acuna took control of the MVP race. I know Betts is still well ahead in WAR, but F-WAR, it's down to 0.9 now instead of it was 1.3, I think, a week ago. And now, so Acuna is within he could haul in. He could catch him before the year's over in F-WAR. And even if he doesn't, if it's just like 0.2 or something,
close. Yeah.
Right? That's a big difference between 1.3 WAR and like 0.2 of 1.
Yeah, if it's 1.5 or something like that, I think it's kind of hard to argue with, as far as stats go, and people put a lot of value in WAR. But if they're close, then I think a lot more people just use their eye test and look at some other things. It's not going to be the only factor, but it's a big one.
And a lot of people watched that series and saw Acuna. I mean, outplaying him. I mean, not that Betts played poorly or anything, but Acuna, it just impacts the game. Every time he comes to bat, you're like, okay, what's he going to do here? He homered in each of the first 3 series of the game, man. I mean, each of the first 3 games of the series. God.
I think you got to watch that and then watch it in a big series. That series is everything, but both teams know what they're filling each other out there, and that series means something. So to watch a guy in a big series, it was come out and take charge. Like that ball he hit to center, 121. Oh
my God, that was the guys were talking about that 2 days later.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. It's like I asked Arcia about that ball the next day, and when Arcia had the big homer in the 10th inning, or no, it was the same night. Arcia had the 10th inning homer to win it, and I asked Arcia about Acuna's homer, and Arcia uses a translator, and I asked him, "What'd you think of Acuna's homer?" He didn't need the translator. He goes, "Unbelievable."
Yeah.
And somebody asked him, "Could you hit 122, 121?" He goes, "Me? No chance. No chance."
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
I heard some people kind of questioned it if that's accurate or not. And, if Arcia hit 121, you'd have to be like, all right, they got to recalibrate the machines. But when Acuna hits balls 114, 115 routinely,
right,
and the way that ball carried dead center line drive and made Dodger Field look small, it's like there's no doubt he could do that. And he
exploded off the bat. Even in that loud stadium, you could hear it in a press box. It was just crushed. Mookie Betts said, I think is people don't understand about him is how hard he hits the ball all the time.
Every time. Yep.
I mean, Mookie hits the ball, squares him up as much as anybody except Acuna, Acuna's just another level, man. He routinely hits balls 110 miles an hour. That on the other team, if a guy hits 110, it's like, whoa, you know?
Yeah. Well,
That's
he
his
takes
routine.
swings. Yeah, some of the swings he takes are swings you'd see a guy hit a ball 95 to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And they look like it. Like when he stays inside a fastball down the middle and shoots it to right.
Yeah.
I'll look it up sometimes because I'm catching on to how hard he hits the ball, but I'll go look it up on Baseball Savant or something, and I'll be expecting, I bet he hit that ball 100 plus, because I'm trying not to be deceived by the swing. And then you look it up and it's 111. It's like he hits the ball with the same swings other guys take 10 miles an hour harder, which turns into like 40 or 50 feet when it's in the air.
I mean, just to put it in perspective, it was the third hardest hit homer of the StatCast era, the sixth hardest hit ball. That started in 2015. That's 8 years. The only two home runs hit harder were by Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton, and they were both tenths of they were both in the 121s as well. In other words, they were like
got to have 70 pounds on him.
70 pounds, and they were less than 1 mile an hour harder. So basically, if you round, there were rounding error difference. Rounding. I mean, and Stanton has him by about 50 pounds. Judge has him by like 70, 75 pounds. Judge, with all those home runs he hit last year, never hit one as hard as Acuna hit in that ball that Acuna hit. Judge has never hit one that hard in the StatCast era. I mean, he's 6'7", 280 pounds.
Yeah.
275. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's wild what he gets out of his body.
I asked him, and Acuna, I asked him, what's the secret? And he just, he really didn't have.
There isn't a secret. He was born with that. That's not something.
He was touched by God, man.
Yep, he's touched by God. And that's what they say. This guy's just touched by God. You can't train to be that.
No. To have those wrists, to have those hips, to have that. No. I would say pound for pound, he's probably, if the only guy that's probably pound for pound stronger, maybe two guys would be Ozzie and Altuve, maybe just because they're so much lighter than Acuna.
Yeah.
Because Acuna's smaller than most sluggers. He's like 200 pounds, but those guys are like, 170 because they're 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah.
5'7", I think Ozzie's listed as, but yeah,
it's nuts. I was explaining to a buddy, I was telling them they were just asking, because I was hanging out with some buddies and they saw that ball and they're like, how does he do that? Or what is it about it? Like, what makes him different? And I tried to say, it's like a world-class sprinter. Okay.
Right.
That's how fast they can run. Well, this is how fast he can rotate. Like his gift is not, I mean, he's fast as shit, but as far as when you think about world-class speed, he's a world-class, probably one of the best rotators on earth. Like his ability to just turn his hips and all that fast twitch he has is just, I mean, it's world-class. Like it's something you can't work for and nobody else has. And
Adam, Altuve is not that tall. He's listed. None of these guys are as tall as they're listed at. Ozzie is not as tall as he's listed, and Altuve is not 5'8". He's about 5'6".
Yeah.
Just so you know. You were talking about it's funny. You were talking about the world-class speed analogy. It's funny because you see somebody on a baseball field or a football field and you think, oh my God, that's the fastest guy I've ever seen, But when you put them on a track with Usain Bolt, they're not the same. There's a little difference. Yeah. Even as fast as they are. Now, there's some exceptions, obviously, some guys that went from track to football or vice versa. But track guys at their peak, training for track, can blow away anybody in the NFL. They can beat anybody.
Anybody.
So,
and that's him rotating. Like he's just, if you compared it, it's too hard to see. Like when you see a guy running down a field that's so much faster than everybody, it's so obvious. It's hard to see with that rotation. So your only real, ability to measure it is the bat speed and how hard he hits the ball.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And the way, I think even more than, or as impressive as what he does with stuff like that, is he doesn't just do it in the game against Pittsburgh, against some fourth starter. He does it on the biggest stage. Yeah. And that's even more rare, is these guys that do their best on the biggest stage when everybody's focused on him. That game in Colorado, I don't want to turn the page on that this soon. The game he had where the two fans ran on the field
Yeah.
You remember what he did after that? He got another stolen base and home, I think another home run after, or another double after that. That most guys would be so rattled by that moment. Some guys would ask to be taken out, or the manager would feel like I need to take him out of the game.
Yeah.
He's not even phased. The guy knocked him on his
want,
butt. He was off balance,
I
and the
think he
guy
likes
knocked him on his
feeling like
ass.
that.
And he got up laughing
Yep.
and continues doing what he's doing, and has that 5 RBI, 3 extra base hit game, 2 stolen. I mean, he's not normal, man. But nothing about him is normal.
No, he wants it. Yeah, like there's guys that when the lights shine the brightest, they're like they don't want to mess up. He's like, this is my chance. He's been waiting all year for a series that big. He's probably been hearing the chatter about MVP, and he's like, watch this. Watch what I do now. And that it's not an easy mindset to have, but some guys are so freaking good that they're just playing a game, and all he has to do is lock in that little bit extra, and he'll do something you've never seen before.
Fuck Bill Gates. Bill Gates says Acuna is Mickey Mantle reincarnate without the drinking, of course. I think that's fair. I think it's also he's Roberto Clemente incarnate because of the arm. Hank Aaron early in his career when he was people don't remember or don't even know that Hank Aaron was a Gold Glove outfielder early in his career before he put on weight.
Yeah.
But watch films of Roberto Clemente, and he's so much like that, and he's similar size too. That's about how big Roberto Clemente was.
Yeah,
but you're talking about 3, 4. Willie Mays. Willie Mays was not a big guy. He was ripped. He shredded even more than Acuna. Acuna's not shredded like Willie Mays. You see him without a shirt. That dude was shredded, but about the same size and the fast twitch. So you're talking about those are the guys, the comps really. And I know those are all-time greats. But if Acuna stays healthy, there's no reason for me to think he can't be an all-time great. He's that talented. Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, Hank Aaron, that talented. You're watching greatness, folks. I've done this for 30 years, and he's the most talented player I've ever covered or ever seen in person.
Yeah,
he really is.
That's why we have to talk about it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, in 30 years, you haven't seen anybody like this.
Right. Now, I don't want to look back in 20 years and go, I should have understood what I was watching. No, I understand what I'm watching.
Yeah. But the more you watch, the more you watch, the more impressive it is to see a guy do this.
I still put Chipper as the best player only because longevity did it. You got to do it a little longer than this. I mean, God forbid something could happen to Acuna. But Acuna is on the path to be better.
Yeah.
To be better than Chipper.
Yeah.
And he's obviously the arm and all that. And the speed puts him at it. And Chipper was really fast early on, but Acuna's got that speed. And Chipper had the ACL early and great base runner, but now the raw speed that Acuna has.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's something to watch. And that was just that whole road trip, especially Colorado and LA, he was on display. And head to head with Mookie, you saw it. He just steps up. Homers in 3 straight games. So it's something else, man. It's fun to watch. This homestand, the big news today, well, not big news. We expected this. They had to get a starter for tonight because they keep giving the starters extra rest. They weren't going to bring Strider back on 4 days. They're not doing that with these guys. And I think it's smart, too. They are going to make sure or do whatever they can to make sure that these guys are healthy and that they're not at career highs in innings and all that before the postseason even begins. So if they can get an extra day or 2 of rest, they're doing it. So they bring up Soroka today, and Soroka will start tonight in the series opener against St. Louis. I'll be interested to see it because it's been a while since he's been up here, and he had a couple of good starts, then a couple of bad ones when he got sent down. And the guys that they've been bringing up this year have really answered the bell. It's amazing how many starters they've used and how more often than not, especially as Schuster's gotten more experience, how well they've pitched. Winans pitched really well in his games.
Yeah.
Vines pitched great in his game when he came up at Colorado in his debut at Coors Field. So it'll be interesting to see what Soroka does when he comes up. He's pitched really well in AAA lately, and he's got plenty to pitch for, man. Got plenty to he's trying to win. He's trying to make an impression for next year and make sure the Braves keep him this offseason. He'll be ARB eligible again, and as it stands now, they'll have 2 years of control on him because he's not going to get to 5 years unless he were to stay the rest of the season up on the roster. And I don't think that'll happen. I think he'll get optioned, and they'll keep doing this plug him in thing, bring a fresh arm up for the bullpen and bring another guy up to start, in his place.
Well, I'd love to see him get to finish the year in a way that makes it all worth it, because he's been through so much. It'd be great if he just goes out and deals and then gets to stay or come back up and play some role in the playoffs and, cruise into next year riding the high. I mean, that'd be so awesome for him. And he's capable of doing it. It's just, I think I keep thinking of this as like his year that Acuna had last year.
Yeah.
Where, you get your doubters, but you're still finding yourself again. And he's changed his mechanics. And then I'm just waiting for that moment when everything clicks. He has this big moment, and I don't think he'll look back.
Yeah. I mean, we can't overstate what he's come back from, being basically away for almost 3 years. I mean, I know he made a few rehab starts last year, but away from the majors for almost 3 years. And to come back from something that no pitcher has ever come back from. And the only other player that's come back from it is Jake Berger, who's having a really good year for the White Sox. Those are the only two guys that have done this, that have come back from a twice torn Achilles. So just to see him doing this, what he's done so far is impressive, because he's had to change so much. And he did the whole thing, as he described it when he was on the podcast, the whole thing with altering his mechanics to avoid putting the stress back on it, because he felt the Achilles tightening up once again. And he said, I got to do something to ease that. So he had to alter his mechanics and, spent a month out there in Utah working at a lab to do that. So he wants it so bad, obviously, to go through what he's done instead of just hanging it up, and moving on and being a coach somewhere. So it's got to be hard, man, to keep persevering down in the minor leagues, trying desperately to get back, especially when you were so good as a rookie, an all-star.
Yeah.
Talking about
it's easy to forget.
Yeah, he was the next great Braves big three type guy.
Yeah.
Long before, even before Fried, Soroka was going to be that next guy. And Fried has kind of become that guy.
Yeah. And you look at the time he missed. Yeah, it's hard to miss 2 months. It's hard to get a late start on a season. Like we expected Max to kind of go through that lull he did, came out hot and then kind of struggled a little. And now he pitched that game at Dodger Stadium and looked amazing. But I mean, it takes a month or so to get your feet under you when you just miss part of a season. He's missed 3 years, not to mention his body's different now, and he's trying to throw with different mechanics. But I mean, you just have to, and I believe in his work ethic and how smart he is, and that will to figure it out and keep freaking working. It just, for me, it makes me so happy to see him get rewarded for all this. I mean, it's one of those stories that just, when guys do this and push through it, as a player that struggled, I know how hard it is. And if he gets rewarded from it, it'll be all worth it.
I've seen enough already to know that he can be at least a good 4 or 5 star, if not something better.
He doesn't want to be that, though.
Right, he does.
He wants to be a 1.
Because he was on path to be a 1, an all-star 1, a perennial ace. But I've seen enough to believe that. But you're right. He's like 30, 40 pounds heavier than he was when he was a rookie all-star. So that's a lot of pressure on that Achilles. That's a lot, the whole delivery and everything is different, but it's natural size. He's grown into this body and he's worked out so hard. I mean, he's in better shape probably than he was then. He's just a big guy, big bone, big guy, tall. So, I'd have my doubts if he couldn't field his position, or he couldn't come off without awkwardly, or apprehensively. And I haven't seen that at all. So I think he's gotten past those mental hurdles. That's a big deal. So we'll see. It's I think he's shown enough for the Braves to this offseason. I think they'll avoid Arb and probably sign him because he wants to be here too. They've stuck with him. He's stuck with them. I know it's frustrating for him to get sent down again, but if he looks at it, he probably already has. But if he looks at it without a jaundiced eye or without an impartial view, he's got to acknowledge those other guys pitched as well as he did or better. Yeah. I mean, they all deserve it. And he's got to know what the Braves have been doing with this shuffling in, using the 5 ups and downs they can use with these guys to give their other main guys extra rest. It's all part of the whole thing they're doing. Unfortunately, he hasn't shown enough to be one of those main guys. Instead, he's one of those guys that gets cycled in and out while they have options. Next year, he won't have options. They can't do that with him next year if they bring him back. Huge.
Because I think if he did have options, he'd have a decision to make. Because there's things that happen in his situation where a team may not want to pay you as much as Arb's going to command.
Right.
And they'll try to work out a deal before that point comes where they're like, I can't imagine they do it, non-tender him, but you can kind of get threatened and offered, say you're making 3, they can offer 2 and be like, we got a job for you, but this is what we think you're worth. And then you have a decision to make. And in his position, doing what he's done all year is not fun. Or you could look at a lot of organizations that would say, hey, we'll give you this guaranteed money and you're going to be in our rotation. You're going to be our number 3 or 4, and you can work your way up to a 1. Not having options, though, changes a lot, because if they keep him, that means he's going to get to pitch. Mm-hmm. And he's going to have some stability. It's hard going up and down, and it's hard knowing if you have a bad start, you might be sent back down. Like, that's an extra pressure that nobody really thrives with.
Right.
So I could see it going a lot of ways, but not having options is huge, because that gives he gets to be that guy they can't send down next year.
We know how Alex feels about him. I know people might think otherwise because they've been sent up and down so many times. But Alex, if nothing else, has shown that he does not let personal feelings stand in the way of business ever. Freddie Freeman, Dansby Swanson, 2 of his favorite guys. When it comes down to negotiating, he does not let it get in the way, man. And that's to his credit, because in his position, he cannot let – I've seen some GMs that let being a good guy that they really like stand in the way of a better business decision. And he doesn't do that.
I stuck a few free years out of that. I had a few years where the writing was on the wall and they still gave me a chance.
And he doesn't do that. But I think he's not making so much money that, to me, the Braves have invested so much time and money in his rehab, and he vice versa with them. But the loyalty has been 2 ways so far. They could have easily let him go after the second, paid him his money to rehab, but released him when he was coming back from the second Achilles, and they kept him.
Yeah.
Not having any idea, because it's unprecedented to come back from that. So I think they've stuck with him so long, it'd be hard for me to see them letting him go over $1 million difference. But, because depth is Alex's big thing. And he's, if nothing else, he's depth.
Yeah, but he doesn't want. I wouldn't want to be depth.
No, I don't think he wants that at all. But if you're the Braves looking at it, if say it cost him $3 million, he's worth that. I think, because there's a good chance. Penny. There's always a chance he could be a middle of the rotation guy next year if he makes any strides at all.
He could be worth 15. You could pay him 3, and he's worth 15 next
year.
Right.
A good number 4 or 5 starter is worth $10 million in the majors now.
Yeah.
If not more on the free agent market. So anyway. It'll be interesting, but I think they'll keep him, and I think he wants to be here at least one more year while he's out of options. And then if in spring training it's obvious he's not going to make the team, because it'll be one of those arbitration deals, and it won't be guaranteed. So they'll at least do that, because they can always release him if they wanted to, and he can go somewhere where he got a better chance to make a team. So that's what how I see it playing out.
But I just love to see him pitch so well that it's not even a discussion.
Exactly. Because what he would bring with his experience, his perseverance, is what he's been through. It's kind of like what Charlie has been through. It's just a wealth of knowledge and optimism for other guys when they hear the story about what a guy's been through, and then they see him doing it now. When these young guys that are struggling right now to get their feet, to get established, when they hear how long it took Charlie. Some of these guys are 3 or 4 years younger than Charlie was before he ever established himself in the big leagues. He wasn't a good pitcher until he was almost 30.
Yeah.
Late 20s.
Yeah, and that's important to see.
And he tells them.
Important to see that.
And he's so self-effacing and so modest that he'll tell them exactly, I was not good. He'll tell them why he wasn't good, So that, I think that's so important. Even if Charlie wasn't getting it done on the mound, he's worth the $20 million they're paying him, but he is getting it done on the mound. That was the other thing. He came out after 4 innings, his shortest start of the year the other day, and it was Sunday. He had a terrific August. If you look at his August numbers, he was a pitcher of the month candidate. Peralta got it because he was terrific. He was under sub-2 ERA and all that. But Charlie's numbers in August were terrific. Strikeouts to walk ratio, innings, everything, ERA. I won't be surprised at all if Charlie wants to pitch again, if they bring him back on that $20 million option. To me, he's still worth it. There's no reason to think he can't do what he's doing this year again next year, depending on what's out there. But you're not going to get that on the free agent market for $20 million. You're not going to get that pitcher like him, what he's doing right now.
His potential on a 1-year deal, Yeah. I think you got to assume that one of these isn't going to work out, but if it keeps working out, just keep doing it.
And until it doesn't, and when it does, you're like, okay, we spent $20 million, it's not worth it, but it was worth it coming up to this, and we got our money's worth out of it. and the lessons he's learned, he's taught the guys along the way have been invaluable. And I'm not just saying that because he's great to talk to and I like him. I'm saying
No,
just
he's
look at the
good.
numbers. Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers, analytics, the velo, the spin rate is still elite. Top handful of the best spin rates, top 3 probably in the major still. I haven't looked lately. And there's no reason to think it's not slowing down. So, and then you're going to get to the postseason, and nobody in the majors has, well, I don't think, has more experience in the major leagues in a postseason than him, with maybe Scherzer, Verlander. I'm not sure. But Charlie's postseason pedigree is as good as it gets. So,
yeah.
He made a great point the other day. He was talking about the Dodgers. These guys had really good perspective on beating them 3 out of 4, by the way. It was like I think they had discussed among themselves, okay, we won the series. We won 3 straight. Let's don't say anything because they're going to ask us, was a message sent? Yeah. Let's make sure we don't give the Dodgers any bulletin board material by saying, yeah, I think they got the message loud and clear, because they were all just, you know what? We played a great series. Let's leave it at that. He goes, each one of the guys that had been there before said the postseason and the regular season are 2 different things. They're independent of each other, as Olson put it, because they were there last year. They saw Philly that won 88 games, I think, during the regular season. And they got hot at the right time, beat the Braves when the Braves had a couple of guys hurt or injured, pitchers coming off injuries. The Phillies beat them and go all the way to the World Series. Look, and then as Charlie said, look at us in 21.
Yeah.
The Braves did the same thing. So it's not all about the team that had the best regular season and won the most games or had the most impressive whatever. It's who's hot and healthy at the right time. So the Braves have seen it enough to know, and they got that message sent out there afterwards that, no, we're not going to – they didn't take the bait. None of them did. Snit, Olson, Charlie, they all had the same message. No, I'd leave it at that. We had a better series. We played great. That's a great team over there. Charlie said, the last 3 teams I've played for have played the Dodgers in the postseason. It's the same thing with the Dodgers. They're professional. They grind. They're going to be good in the postseason. But Houston, Tampa, and the Braves, he's been on, played the Dodgers in the postseason.
Well, I think, though, there is some value in showing them what they're getting into like that. I think they do a really good job. As a player, you're not gonna say that. But just looking from the outside in, if I'm a Dodgers pitcher and we're about to play the Braves, I know I got my hands full. I know that at any moment they can put up a 5 spot. And it's one thing to watch it from afar and know it's a really good team. You go into the series and you're like, I want to see how good these guys are. You just showed them. So they know before the series starts when they match up with you. And every team in baseball knows. But seeing it firsthand, watching the ball go 450 at 121, watching Max locked in, for the hitters, like, you better bring it when you face this team. And just showing them that, I think there's a lot of value in it. It's not like they didn't know, but getting that firsthand taste is a big deal.
Yeah, I think the Braves sent the message by winning the series and the season series for the first time in a long time. They hadn't won a 4-game series in Dodger Stadium since 2009. So whether they say they sent a message or not, they did. I mean, the Dodgers know where they are too. And let's not downplay what the significance of Urias being charged with a very serious domestic violence, a felony offense.
I didn't even see that.
Oh, Urias got charged with domestic violence over the weekend. 2nd time in like 4 years. Felony. So he's not on the trip. And if this is proven, if he did it, he won't be on the roster. He won't be in the postseason. That's a big blow for them because they can't afford to lose another pitcher. I still like their pitching. If Walker Buehler gets back, he pitched great on his rehab assignment the other day on the first start, I think it was. But that's kind of like Kyle Wright. When they've been out this long, you can't really count on them. And unlike Kyle Wright, the Braves don't have to count on Kyle Wright. The Braves have enough pitching depth that if Kyle doesn't make it back, the Dodgers are going to have to count on Walker Buehler if they lose Urias. Now, they still got Kershaw and Bobby Miller, who's a rookie, but is pitching great.
He's good.
That Sunday game against the Braves, people are like, the Braves, why don't they play well on Sundays again? Blah, they're 2-7 last night or whatever. That was about Bobby Miller. That wasn't about the Braves not playing well. You saw it's almost impossible to sweep a team 4 games, even a mediocre team, much less the hottest team in baseball. They had lost 4 of their previous 26 games, home and road. And you're going to talk about going in and beating them 4 in a row? Yeah. Bobby Miller pitched his ass off. I mean, he pitched great. That's an elite arm. That's easy 99. So I like them, Kershaw, Bobby Miller, and Walker Buehler if he makes it back. But the fall off after that, you're talking about two guys with ERAs of 5 after that, if Urias sitting in there.
Yeah, and you're facing them. I mean, if you face him, it's going to be in a 7-game series.
The Braves pitching depth is so much better than the Dodgers. It really is. I think the Braves have the best pitching depth in baseball. Phillies have got a really good pitching, and they're playing great now again. That series next week, Seattle got great pitching. Yeah. In the other league, definitely. Houston doesn't have what they had before. The Rangers bullpen is a disaster, and it's going to keep them from going. If they make the postseason, I think they lose probably in the first round. Their bullpen is atrocious. I mean, they don't have a closer. Their bullpen ERA in like this stretch they're on now is like 9. I mean, it's terrible. So yeah,
and that shows its head in the postseason big time. Yeah, you know, I mean, you win your regular season games, especially with a good offense. You just blow enough teams out, but that doesn't happen much in the postseason.
Yeah, you're going to have those 3 or 4 guys that you can count on. Bullpens have won World Series recently. If you look at the Braves, the Rockies, Kansas City, they had those 3 or 4 guys that you get to the 6th inning and it's over, you know.
Yep.
And the Braves had that in 21 with those 3 guys. I don't know that they have 3 guys that'll be as unhittable as they had that, but they got a lot more depth than they did in 21.
They got 6 that are pretty damn tough.
Yeah, pretty damn tough. Yeah. And Iglesias right now is elite. He just won reliever of the month for August. Didn't give up a run in August.
You couldn't tell if the camera zoomed in on him, you couldn't tell it was 15-1 or 1-0 with the bases loaded and no outs.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. He's a closer. He's got a closer's mentality. And now he looks like he's worth $16 million a year. When they got him, you're like, really? You know, then he pitched great in a setup role. And then, you know, he's misses the first month this year. And initially you're like, oh, this contract ain't looking too good when he first came back. And now he looks like that guy.
Yeah, you don't see too many 3-pitch closers.
Exactly. That changeup
his changeup's so dirty. It's not even, you know, it's only like 5 or 6 lower than his fastball, but he could put it wherever he wants. He can throw it in any count. Then he's got a breaking ball, and he can dial his fastball up to 98, 97, 98 when he needs to. He'll sit 94 to 96. And then you'll see it when he has this like a 1-2 fastball or something. He wants to blow somebody away. He adds 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, closers don't pitch like that anymore. They come out the gates and they're maxing out one of their first 2 pitches. That's the highest velo they're going to have today. So you don't see he's old school for me, where you don't see a guy come in and just dot up and make pitches and keep a little in the tank. And then he gets first and second. He needs a strikeout. He dials it up to 98 or throws a 3-2 changeup.
And I think the Pierce Johnson pickup was really big. That could potentially be a difference maker.
Did they leave that as a hit, that ball Ozzie kicked?
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't
go back and look, but I was one time it winds up being earned runs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, other than that blemish, she's been unbelievable.
Fuck Bill Gates again. I'm just saying that's his handle. I don't know how else to pronounce it. It's Phuck Gates. Fuck Bill Gates says Turner is hitting like he did during the WBC. He is, man. It took a while. He was having a bad season. But those fans, to their credit, in Philly, who are usually awful to their own guys, they decided one night we're going to cheer for this guy and try to get him turned around. And he's hit great since then. It's crazy.
That's funny. There's been 2 of those moments with those fans the last couple of years that are just
Baum and him.
It makes me like Phillies fans a little more than I used to.
They're passionate, man. They are really passionate, both directions. So, yeah, they are a problem. Somebody said they're a problem. They are. They got really good starters. Got some gas coming out of the pen. They got some. Obviously, Schwarber is on fire again now. I mean, he's all or nothing. But when he gets hot. Yeah. You saw what happens when their key guys get big hits in the postseason last year, like they did. So when you got Schwarber, Bryce, and now Trey hitting like he can, they're problematic. So this is going to be a big series, man. The Braves got a chance to go in there. Probably going to have a chance to go in there and clinch. Now that they whittled this thing down to where they did, but the Phillies, on the other hand, if they stay hot, they're the team. If they keep winning, the Braves can only gain a maximum of 1 game. Per game until they go into Philly, and then it's head to head. So it'll be interesting. Those are the those are the ones that can really make it up in a hurry, obviously, because this magic number is down to, say, 6 going in there. Then the Braves can get 2 with each win and clinch the thing on the second day in there if they win and sweep the doubleheader. Some just going scenarios here, but it's getting to that point. And the Braves have what should be an easy week against the Cardinals and the Pirates. I mean, anything can happen, but at home, place will be packed. These are not good teams. The Braves should they should win 6 out of the 7, 5 out of the 7 minimum. That should win both series. So it'll be interesting. I had something else here. I was going to, going back to the head-to-head on Acuna and Betts. Acuna's now got, and by the way, Freddie and Olsen were almost non-factors in that series. Both of them, Betts and Acuna, put some distance between them and any thought of Olsen and Freddie being. And Olsen has been, for the Braves, the good thing was Olsen got off that schneid with the home runs. He went like 81 plate appearances without a homer. And he hits a homer, and he's still tied for the Major League lead with Shohei, still leading the National League by several, going 81. That's how hot he was. But that was big seeing him connect, I think, and get off that, because when he gets going, we've seen him, what he can do.
Yeah, he can pile up 5 in a week.
Right. He could still get 50, He could still get 50 this year. So, but I thought Betts and Acuna kind of showed they're the class of this MVP field. And now you're looking at Acuna. He's got 32 homers, 63 stolen bases, 85 RBIs, 123 runs. He leads the majors in steals and runs. He's hitting .335 with a .416 OBP, a .578 slugging from the leadoff spot, .994 OPS. I was talking to Kevin Seitzer about him a few days ago in L.A., and Kevin said, it's so good to see, because we didn't know if he'd be back to Ronald. Last year he struggled. We didn't know if he's going to be back to pre-injury Ronald. He goes, and he's not. He's better than pre-injury Ronald. Yeah. He skipped over the same pre-injury Ronald. He went from last year struggling with the knee, still getting fluid on it, still swelling, just normal stuff that you get coming back playing every day, or almost every day after that type of surgery. And it was normal shit. They told him you're not going to hurt it again playing on it. And sure enough, he didn't. And we're seeing now that it's fully recovered what he's doing. And it's just, what he's doing is just, it's unprecedented what he's doing from the leadoff spot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I've never watched it. It's funny too, because it's like, I don't think what drives him is the money. You know what I mean?
No.
I think this guy just wants to be the best player in the game, and he loves the attention. He loves the spotlight. And that's a dangerous combo with his talent.
Harris said he loves being the villain in these places, because I said, man, he doesn't take anything off those home run trots. In Dodger Stadium, they're booing everything he does along the way. And him and Ozuna's the same way. And neither one of them subdues it at all. Like, okay, I'll avoid this part of it or that part. No, they do every bit of it. Acuna just revels in it. He could say,
they feed off it. Yeah.
Yeah. Acuna could say, I want everybody to like me in these places. I don't want to do that. But he does it. He cares about Atlanta fans loving him. And he, like Barry Bonds once said, they don't boo you if you're not great on the road.
Yep. I talked in the past about how I never did anything like that because I didn't want that target on my back.
Right.
The game was so hard for me. I didn't need any added pressure or distractions or anybody, shooting for me. Acuna's mindset is like, come get me.
Yeah. I'm the best player on this field, and I know it, and you know it, and I don't care if you think I'm acting like it, because I am.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not afraid to up the ante at all.
Yeah, because he knows he can deliver.
Yeah.
He's not afraid about people putting in his face, like him going 0 for 8 in the last 2 games of the series after homer in each of the first 2. He's not afraid of that. So he could end up, now that he got those 3 homers and got back on path, realistically he could end up hitting 335. He could hit between 35 and 40 homers, 70 to 75 stolen bases, 100 RBIs from the leadoff spot, 140 to 150 runs, and 1,000 OPS. He's only 6 homers and 14 RBIs behind Betts, and he's got 53 more steals than Betts. He's hitting 335 to Betts 316, though Betts has him in OPS 1,025 to 994. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Made up ground this week, made up a lot of ground. And he's nearly a full game better in WAR. But like we said, it's 7.7 to 6.8 now, whereas before it was like 1.3 or 1.4 WAR difference between them. Made up a lot of ground in just 1 week. And Betts was the player of the month with that monster month. And he didn't build any better, any more of a margin than he did. Says a lot because he had a historically good month. Betts did.
Yeah, and it took that to get into the conversation. That's how good Ronald's been all year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did it. He did it with that with the month that he had. Betts in August had 51 hits, 51 hits, 11 homers, 30 RBIs, 1355 OPS. That's what it took to build that. I mean, that's like the best month of his career, like month that hardly anybody ever has. So,
yeah,
you know, for him not to be any further than he is, less than a 1 game WAR ahead of Ronald right now, you know. And now that the head-to-head, a lot of people are going to remember that head-to-head. I know the 4 voters that saw it in person will, and I know a lot of people that watched those games because those games got a lot high viewership.
Yeah,
you know, that first one, Ronald hits a grand slam, and that's played out on MLB Network and ESPN all night. You know, so it'll be interesting. Right now, I said like I did last week. I said I think Acuna still wins it. I feel even more stronger about that now. I think Acuna wins it. It's going to be close, but I think Acuna wins it if this continues like it is right now. Unless, you know, Betts has another monster month or Acuna falls off. But right now, I think he'd win it. Probably something
I think you think if Betts had another month like that, but Acuna got to 40 homers.
Betts ain't going to have another month like that. He went
Right.
0 for 7 or 8 in the first 2 games of this month, which I don't know if he had 2 games like that all of it, August.
Yeah. I just mean if Ronald gets to 40, can anything beat that?
40, 75. I think if Ronald just gets 35, 75.
Yeah.
With hitting 330 and OPS and nearly 1,000 and scoring nearly 150 runs and driving in 100.
Yeah.
I think he wins it. I think he probably right now get 20 votes to maybe 8 for Betts, maybe 2 other, maybe Freddie gets 2 votes, maybe.
Yeah.
They might end up getting all the votes though. Right now, I don't think
you can.
I don't know how you'd vote really for somebody other than
one of those 2
Betts now.
Yeah.
It might be like
I think he's just being an asshole. Like guys do that just to stand out, right?
Right. Maybe that somebody that just hates both of them. But I don't. Even if you don't like the way Acuna plays, or you don't like how flamboyant he is, what would you hold against Betts? You know, because he does not like that. So yeah, it'll probably be like 22-8 for those guys, or 20-10. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's closer than I think. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Cy Young, I think Snell and I think Strider's got a really good shot. If you look at the wins, but most the strikeouts, I mean, the strikeouts are going to be the ultimate thing. I think that makes the difference for Strider, because the other guy, nobody's running away with it. Nobody's had like a tremendous ERA and tons of wins. Strider's right there in wins type of the league. Steele had that great game with Chicago, but I think he's still a little bit behind Strider. Snell's numbers are those 3 are really stand out from everybody else. I think Strider's got a real good shot. You imagine if they win MVP and Cy Young?
That's pretty rare.
And the best record in the majors?
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I'd go with Strider.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's really stood out. That's
100 more strikeouts than innings pitched.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Tonkin gives up the home runs, but he has a very good whip. Tonkin has been huge for the Braves this year. They are not where they are without Tonkin. He's picked up so much of the slack while Lee was hurt, while other guys were struggling early on, when Mentor struggled for like a month or close to it, you know. Iglesias missed the first month of the season. Everybody in the bullpen has had a month where they were either hurt or struggling or both. Chavi has been out all this time.
Yeah.
Tonkin has been huge. And McHugh was not like that he was last year. Tonkin really filled that role a lot, the multi-inning role.
Yeah.
Tonkin has been, you could argue, as valuable as anybody in that pen. I mean, I know he's not the flashy guy or he doesn't have the saves like Iglesias or the huge strikeouts, but Tonkin has been just huge, coming from nowhere, indie ball guy. He's been the Matzik of this bullpen.
Yep. That game that Pierce Johnson struggled, I'm pretty sure it was Tonkin came in and finished out that inning.
He did.
With a big strikeout.
He did.
Those are moments that if you don't have a guy you can count on that comes in and the momentum's already kind of building for a team and you just give up a single there or a knock and let that team breathe, those are games that can change a whole series, that moment right there.
And that place is so loud. And it was at peak when he came in because they had to make some noise, and they did. So he comes running from the bullpen in that cauldron and gets that out. I mean, that showed me something right there. This is a guy that was pitching in front of hundreds of people in indie ball not long ago.
Yeah, those moments having it is though. It's not always your setup man or closer. It's those moments right there are, the seventh inning can be that biggest moment of the game that changes a whole series. And those guys having that depth in your pen, having more and more guys you can pull on, one of them's going to hit and get you out of it. It's huge.
And then how about Dylan Lee? Hadn't pitched in 3.5 months in the big leagues. Snit, as Snit will do, thrust him into that big situation when Charlie gets 2 on, none out. Freddie Freeman coming up, and Lee comes in and induces a double play grounder from Freddie. Hadn't pitched in the majors in 3.5 months.
It's wild like that, man. But the reward of that is like you come in and get it done there.
Yeah,
we're back. There's no like I'm pitching in a 6-0 game. I think I feel pretty good. You have 2 or 3 games to find out if you're back. You come in that moment, and it's like, oh, I'm just back in my role. We're ready to go. The next time you can call on him, throw him in a big situation again.
And that's Snit and Cranny and the bullpen coaches knowing what this guy, where he is mentally and what he can do physically. And that because otherwise you don't put him in there. You're playing with fire there if you're not sure that he can do it in there and handle it.
And a lot of times as a pitcher, you're not sure. And then they throw you into it and you're like, all right, I guess I'm the guy.
I think
done. You pick right up where you left off.
You talk to that guy and you watch him. He has the air of he's just oblivious to the situation because he shows. You talk about showing no emotion. He just looks like he could be coming in throwing a bullpen. I mean, he is just oblivious to everything. It doesn't matter, man. The situation. That guy never looks fired up. He never looks scared. He's just the same. He just does his thing.
I personally, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was with the Braves, there was barely any. It was kind of like that. You come into a huge, but that's where I had to be because I had to work so hard on myself not to make these situations a big deal. I always tell guys, I'm like, you just got to die inside and have no emotion.
Yeah.
That's how you get out of big situations. And if you watch when I was with Seattle, my first couple years, every time, we could be down 2 runs. If I came in first and third and got a strikeout, I'm fist pumping and jumping all over the place. But it was because I doubted myself and I didn't know I could do it. And when I got to Atlanta, it was just like, you know what? There's so much out of my control. I'm just going to make pitches. Right. Whatever happens, happens. So it was almost like I checked out mentally. I'd make my pitches, get out of it, and just be like, well, I'm glad that's over, but I'm not getting too high or too low no matter what happens here. And that was the only way I could kind of control the situation in my own head was to pretend I didn't care. Right. Because if you let these things build up and you're ready to do your huge fist pump, you get distracted and throw one right down the middle and you suck and blow the game. But if you're able to just stay even keel like that, it's such a good place to be, but it's so hard to be there. And
he was there all the time.
Yeah.
You talk to him, you interview him, it's the same. It's just monotone.
Yeah.
Probably
I love those guys.
Probably the best place to be for some guys.
For me, it was the only place to be.
Yeah.
The more I cared, the more I sucked.
Craig Kimbrell was a lot like that. He shows some emotion sometimes, but most of the time it's no emotion. Yeah. And if they load the bases with none out, it was still no emotion, no stress in his face back in when he was at his peak. And he's having a great year again this year. That's a good pickup for them.
Yeah.
I doubted it. Good. I doubted it. And he's returned to really good form. Not peak form, but pretty close. So.
Yeah, still throws 96 and he's got that curveball.
Yeah. All right. Big week for the Braves. Can do a lot to put themselves in position to clinch in Philly. and when they're going head to head with the Phillies and playing great ball. And it was a hell of a trip. 8-2 trip west, won all 3 series, won 3 out of 4 at Dodger Stadium. That's about as well as you can hope that any trip would go out west, and as good as you can hope against a team like the Dodgers. And I think they showed they're the class. I think they already had shown, but anybody that was wondering after the Dodgers had that great August and think maybe they're back to being the Dodgers and the Braves are, now the Braves showed they're the better team. They're the deeper team. The lineup is the best I've ever seen. Yeah. It's crazy how good it is. They got their two Ozzie Albies homers from having 5 guys with 30 homers. Would be only the second team to do that. The Twins, the team that they're on pace to beat their home run record, or they were until Sunday. I think it's tied now. The Twins, 2019, are the only team with 5 30-homer guys, and that was a juice ball year. That was a year. What people don't remember or maybe aren't aware of, that the Twins set the record with 307 homers that year. You know how much the Yankees had? 306.
Yeah.
306, one fewer. The Yankees did it too without all the 30 guys. Look at the Yankees that year. They had like 10 guys with 15 or homers or something crazy. They didn't have like 3 guys though with like 40.
Yeah. That was the year Ketel Marte went from 12 to 32 homers.
It was a juice ball year, man. So it's it's almost like throw it out, but that's the record, just like Bonds is the record, but that record can be beaten and the Braves are doing it. So funny. You're doing crazy things when so many people around baseball, fans that is, are convinced you're cheating.
Yeah.
And then this guy goes, it's so obvious they're cheating like that. It's like, it's so obvious. You can't tell me how they're doing it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to say to the guy. So they found a way to cheat on the road because not even the Astros with the trash can were accused of doing it on the road. The Braves did it at Dodger Stadium. So you think the Dodgers are helped? They've somehow infiltrated the Dodgers outfield cameras. So they said it's so obvious they're cheating. So obvious, but you can't give me any idea how they're doing it.
It's the best compliment you can get in baseball. As a player, when people think you're on steroids and you're not, that's the best compliment you can get. When you're an offense like this and people think you're cheating, you can't get any bigger compliment.
By the way, watch the new Balco 30 for 30 or not 30 for 30. The thing on HBO.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Anybody that watches that and sees those notations, Barry things, that still contends that it was never proven he took you're delusional or you just love him so much you don't want to admit the truth. Just watch that.
He said basically, I didn't give him to him. I just gave him to his trainer. I don't know what the trainer did with him.
And he had a deal with Barry. Obviously, Barry paid him millions of dollars. Somebody paid Conte millions of dollars. Throw everybody else under the bus if you want to, which he did. Man, I couldn't believe how much he threw those Olympic sprinters under the bus and other guys.
Yeah.
And Giambi but not Barry. Oh, I don't
understand that.
I know what it was.
Why not?
Right here.
Yeah, money.
That's what that was. No doubt.
I'm sorry, you don't put on 40 pounds of mass just working hard when you're 40 years old.
At that age, your performance is like he was starting to go on the downside. He was still the best player probably overall, but he was starting to, and it goes, but the notations, they were like, they were so stupid. They threw the shit away in the garbage cans. It's like BB and Barry, BLB, Barry Lamar Bonds. Anyway, all right.
That was the most shocking thing was how reckless he was with all that.
Yes. You could tell he had no idea they were watching or that they could even figure that out. That's funny.
Yep.
And that IRS guy, he didn't even hold back. He said there is absolutely no doubt that Barry Bonds was doing it. I was like, whoa, okay. You know why he says that? Because to prove it, for Bonds to sue him, he would have to prove he was wrong. And he can't.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah.
So they could sue him if they could prove he was wrong. They could sue him. Anyway, all right. Which brings us to the title of our show. 755 is real. And that's it. We'll talk to you guys again later this week. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it.
All right.